Let me tell you one of the drawbacks of leveling up. Sometimes when you level up, the people that are in your life prior to you making that decision have an issue with it, and it kind of throws you for a loop because you weren't expecting people to react the way they do. As I stated before, jealousy has many forms, and sometimes when a person in a relationship chooses to level up, the other person acts in ways that were totally unexpected. Let me give you a scenario, maybe some of you can relate. Let's say that you're involved with someone, you're absolutely crazy about them in the whole 9 yards, and you decide, you know what, I just want a little bit more out of life, and you decide to, let's say, open up a business. Well, open up a business requires a lot of time. Unless that person is actively working with you, they're going to have an issue with you sacrificing finances and time from the household and from the relationship. Now, in the beginning, when you told them your dream, they were all on board because, see, all they were thinking about was the end results and bragging rights. They want to be able to tell all their friends and family about how their baby is doing this, that, and the other, and how successful they are. Bragging rights. They want to tell everybody at work and everything else about how limited their time is going to be because you're about to blow up because this business is going to make so much money. End result. But they're not thinking about the sacrifices that have to be made during the journey. Anytime that you embark on anything big like that, where it's talking about, going back to school to get your education full time, or opening a business, or starting a foundation, or something like that that requires a lot of time and resources, a lot of people just think about the end result and they don't think about the sacrifices that are required along the way. And see, the person that's doing it is not having an issue with it because they understand that there's a price that has to be paid for the end result. But the person in the beginning that they're talking to, the person that they got their full support. Baby, I got your full support. I'm ready to do this. So unless they're actively getting their hands dirty with you, 9 times out of 10, there might be some problems. Be a matter of time, let's say 6 months into it or whatever the case may be. Person be like, you know what, it's time for us to take our trip to so-and-so. Well, baby, we can't do that this year because, I got to sink some of that money into the business. All of a sudden, there's an issue. What do you mean? We take this trip every single year this time. But, baby, last year I wasn't trying to start a business. Or it could be a situation where this person normally is in bed with them and they turn the lights out at a certain time at night. It's not happening anymore if they're going to school full time because they have a midterm coming up or a paper that's due. And they've got to stay up all night long working on it. And it's not just 1 or 2 papers. For anybody who's been in college, you're going to produce hundreds of papers depending on your major. You're going to work on hundreds of projects. You're going to have to stay up for numerous midterms and final exams. Sometimes you got to pull all-nighters. And that takes attention away. So if you have somebody who's used to having your attention all the time, then they're going to have an issue with that. You see where I'm going with this, people? See, that's how come it's good to try to understand in the beginning before you get serious with anyone is to find out what their vision is for their life and find out what their plans are for themselves. Because if they're totally happy and totally content with where they are right now and not looking for any changes, if you choose to make a change later on, they might have a problem with that. They might have a problem with that because, see, they weren't expecting any changes to occur. So here you are, you're involved in trying to build a business. Things are going along at a good pace. You're feeling better about yourself. Everything is good. But the only problem that you have is your partner at home. Everything else is fine. You're still working your regular job. You're keeping everything on the hush-hush with that. You're not having any problems there. Paychecks are still coming in steady. Bills are still getting paid. There's a little less money, but it's not bad. But then everything else is fine. But then you've got this person that you're absolutely crazy about. You ignore the signs in the beginning, but they're becoming more and more resentful. They're becoming more disagreeable. They're picking fights. And they're the only source of discomfort that you have. And I hear people all the time who run businesses, who trying to build businesses, trying to go back to school, and a lot of them will complain and say and they're upset because their partner is giving them attitude. And they'll tell me, They'd be like, you know what, Deanna, everything's going fine. This is going on with the business and this is going on with school. I've almost got this accomplished. I almost got that accomplished. Everything's great with the family. Everything's great with church. I'm still working my regular job, but that's good too. As a matter of fact, I got a all these good things are going on in every other aspect of their life. But when they come to that one place, they said, but you know what, Deanna, the one problem and the only problem I have right now is my partner. Because in the beginning, they were on board and all of a sudden they got issues. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Do I have to tell you? Either the person who is pursuing the dream is going to find somebody else who's on board and leave that person for them, or the person who feels like they're being neglected, they're going to go ahead and lean on one of those emotional salvage people that I spoke about in the previous audio. The emotional vampires that prey on vulnerable people because they need a shoulder to cry on. Either way, somebody's going to wind up stepping out on somebody else, whether it's during the relationship or whether it's going to be to end the relationship because you guys aren't on the same page. So you have a person who's ambitious and you have a person who talks about ambition or doesn't talk about it at all. And that's not a good mix. The energy is not matched in that department. That's why it's important early on to see where that person's mindset is. If they're totally content at that stage in life and they don't intend on trying to pursue anything else, but you are in the process of pursuing something, that person's going to have to understand there's going to be some changes, and maybe they don't want any changes. So if they don't want any changes while you pursue that other thing, then maybe the two of you shouldn't be together. Because any time that you try to pursue any type of project or embark on some kind of endeavor, there's going to be a change in the relationship. There's going to be either a reduction or increase in time. There's going to be a reduction or increase of resources. There's going to be a change. And if that person is content with everything the way it is right now, they're not going to be adjusted to it. They'll like the idea of having a partner that has a little bit more, but they don't think about the process. And that's what's wrong with a lot of us. We don't think about the process. And the person who's gone through is not complaining because they know that the end result is going to be more than worth it. But see, some people don't have long-term vision. Some people can't see the forest for the trees. That's just the way they are. So if you are going through this endeavor, don't give up. There is something inside your spirit that's telling you to pursue this, whether it's a business or whether it's a podcast, a channel, whether you're trying to promote a brand or a product, if you're trying to go back and get your degree, if you're trying to go back and get your high school diploma, if you're trying to do some sort of improvement that will cause a major change in your life so you can live better, do not leave it alone. I know it's hurtful, but that other person who has an issue with it right now, they have one of two choices. They either need to get on board and support you, or they have to move on, because what's going to happen is while you are on your journey, you're going to encounter other people who think the same way you do and who are having the same problems as you do. And you're going to be able to communicate on a level that you can't communicate with your partner. And gradually, you're going to be spending more time with those people, not necessarily romantically, because it doesn't have to be, but you could just develop friendships with new people who are on the same road that you're on, or at least supporting someone who is on the same road that you're on. But they have an idea of the vision, and it's not going to work when you're coming home to that. I'm going to let it sink in. I'm not saying anything right now. But you got to understand, your vision is your vision. So if you go ahead and you put that on the back burner, you can if you want to. But if something's deep down in your spirit and is nagging you to get it done, guess what? It's going to keep nagging you and keep nagging you and keep nagging you, regardless of who you have in your life. So you might as well just finish the journey, because it's not going away. This is something your Creator has put inside of you. And when your Creator puts something inside of you, guess what? It ain't going nowhere till it's accomplished. Because that's what I'm learning right now. And to the person who has an issue with that, how about you go ahead and you pursue a dream of your own so you can understand what your partner is going through? Or how about this? Just be supportive and encourage them. But don't hate, because you're trying to make it seem like it's their fault. You're becoming the victim. All of a sudden, you're the victim. There are people every single day that will cry and complain to everybody on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else. They'll sit there on social media, sit there on the phone line, and go to their relatives and complain about how so-and-so left them once they leveled up. Let me tell you something about that. There are some cases where people level up and they leave people, and that's wrong in some cases. They might do it because they don't want to be bothered with them anymore. But in a lot of cases that I've heard in the past, the reason why they left them was because they wasn't receiving the support that they needed. That person was the only source of grief that they ever had while they were going through what they were going through. Every time you turn around, giving them a hard time for no reason, picking fights, just playing emotional games, playing mind games. And this person already has enough on their plate. But when they get ready to get what they need, when they're ready to reap the harvest, all of a sudden this person wants to play lovey-dovey. Those are games, and nobody has time for it. So yeah, they're going to up and leave them. Oh, well, they should hang in there. Hang in for what? You've done nothing but give me a hard time for the minute I cracked a book up until the time I got a degree. From the first time that I opened up that first textbook 3.5 years ago when I decided to go back to school, you've given me nothing but grief, heartache, and headache. And now that I got a piece of paper, all of a sudden you're so proud of me and you love me. No, it's time for you to go, boo-boo. That is, if you make it that far. It's time for you to go. Because all you cared about was the end result. You didn't care about the process. You didn't nurse me through the process. You weren't with me through the process. You didn't support me through the process. See where I'm going with this, people? It's the process. It's the journey, not so much the destination. If that's the case, everybody would be totally happy once everybody got what they got. Okay, fine. Let me be by myself while I'm going through the journey, and then you pop up after the fact, and I'm supposed to be okay with that? No. Stay in your lane, deal with those type of people that are on that. I'm not that stupid. I needed you when I was going through the process. I needed you when I was going through the journey because I wanted to make sure you loved me for me and not for what I could give you. On that note, have a nice day.